Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. And this is the Snort Report. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very short broadcast that I really just kind of want to go over the particulars, the situation at hand for tomorrow, April 14th, 2019. Obviously, I'm recording this on the 13th, and I'm just coming off of the Mtcdood stream. If you guys had a chance to see it, very funny stuff, and I was able to listen to Tevin's stream from yesterday a little bit at work today. So, what I'm really here is just to talk about what tomorrow is going to entail. Just my general thoughts, I should say. The actual pre-stream itself, which will probably be long, and then the actual podcast in general. So that's pretty much it. So let's talk about the pre-stream. The pre-stream is a bloodletting, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you're going to see people coming in, taking their shots. You're going to see mods who were banned, or blocked at least, were blocked on Twitter, who are going to try to come out in force and try to talk and say their piece. If not, Phil's having a round table with them right now, or he has for a little while, because he actually came back home today. So this is a bloodletting, yet at the same time a public showing of support for Phil. At least that's what Phil is hoping for, despite the fact that he knows that the haters are going to be out in full force. And there's going to be a whole lot more of them, given what's been going on as it pertains to Twitter and Instagram over the last couple days, since Phil and Kat have announced their marriage. So, first thing is, where can you guys go and watch all this? As you guys know, Almighty Tevin will be restreaming it. Lightside Bill will be streaming it. DarkDave Mirrors will be streaming it, or restreaming it, I should say, with all due respect to each one of them. And I think James the Lesser and Agent Proper are doing a joint live reaction to it. And the thing that's kind of cool about that is you might actually be able to call in through either Skype or Discord. You might actually have a chance to get in and state your opinion about some of this. You can reach out to either one of them on Twitter and hit them up in the DMs or something, or just publicly tweet at them and see if that's a thing. And that might be a chance for you guys to speak your mind. I'm going to try to get in on that. I won't be there when the actual stream starts, because Phil starts that at 10:15 his time. But if he decides to drink tonight, which I'm sure he's going to, probably won't start until 10:30, 10:45. So I'm going to miss a little bit of it, but I'll try to get in on that later. So there's some of the places you can go and check it out. As I said, Almighty Tevin, LSB, DarkDave Mirrors, and then James the Lesser and Agent Proper doing like a joint restreaming. So there you go. We already went over the pre-stream itself. Public bloodletting. At the same time, a show of general support, which is what Phil's hoping for, and a weeding out process, I should say. This will give Phil a chance to identify who's still under the psychosis and who isn't. And there's a lot of people in Phil's fan base that's still willfully ignorant about the situation. They're willing to let it go, and despite the fact that they've been ripped off for the last few months, arguably since middle of 2017, to be honest with you. Actually, yeah, I'd say middle of 2017 they've been screwed over. So you're talking about a whole lot of history that needs to be sieved through, if you will, to kind of, for Phil to basically justify. You can't justify something like this. There are people talking about this as one of the greatest con jobs that's been pulled off by a YouTuber. Some people, even though they're saying it from a joking standpoint, they're trying to be humorous about it. I've got a chance to talk to a few of them. This is the greatest thing that Phil has pulled from a. When I mean greatest, I mean it's one of the most hilarious things he's ever done. He convinced a whole group of people to give him money so he can get married. He's convinced his allegedly dying parents to pay to not only fly him and Kat out to Connecticut for their wedding, but probably to have them pay for the wedding too, which Phil's gonna have no choice but to come out of his face, out of his snout, if you will, and say that mom and dad paid for all this. I didn't pay for anything. He has no choice but to say that. He has almost no choice. He's backed up in a corner in the worst possible way as it pertains to who paid for this wedding. We already know mom and daddy paid for the trip, but who paid for the actual wedding itself? And as you know, it didn't actually have a wedding. They probably, did the actual ceremony in his backyard. As for the wedding license, I apologize. I haven't had an actual chance to follow up on Kiwi Farms or on Twitter. I don't know if theories are still being shot around, or has that already been cemented in stone, whether they were married in Connecticut or in Washington State. Either which way, you guys heard what I thought about that in yesterday's broadcast. So, there's no need to kind of drum that up unless I have something to tie onto it. Phil has screwed up the marketing scheme in two different ways. One, at the end of the day, if there's anything that you take away from this broadcast leading into tomorrow, please, just at face value, not even accept, just ponder, just think about what I'm getting ready to say next. Kat wins. Kat wins no matter what. She holds all the cards. She wins, period. At the end of this saga, you know what I'm saying, win, lose, or draw for the rest of us, she wins. Because no matter what, she's going to walk into that marriage with a whole lot more than what she's going to walk out of that marriage, my apologies, with a whole lot more than what she walked in. She has the potential to walk away with 75% of everything, if not almost all of it. Almost. She's definitely walking away with, and one of my favorite Eddie Murphy terms and whatnot, half. She walking away with half. At the very least, she's won. So let's go ahead and just put that on the table and wipe it away. She wins. Not only is she going to walk away with half, at the very least, at the minimum, she's going to walk away with half. But she stepped into a life that another woman built, and she reaped all of the rewards of it. All the time, all the effort, all the hard work, all the bullshit that went into that house, into the painstaking process, quote unquote, into moving in and all this, that, and the third. Kat wins. She didn't have to do any of that. She didn't have to lift a finger for none of that. She may be maintaining it, but she didn't actually have to put any work into it. She wins. So that's the only thing I want to tell you guys is a surefire thing. Because there's no prenup. I can almost guarantee you there's no prenup. To be honest. I feel like that just didn't happen. That wasn't a thing. With that being said, since there is no prenup and so on and so forth, she's also going to be smart enough to get Phil, or they'll do it together, doesn't really matter, but to pay off whatever debts she has on her end. They're definitely going to get all that squared away. While Phil comes on stream to a continuing declining viewership, and as well as pay piggies, and beg for money day in, day out. She's gonna walk away clean, no matter what. And then you start getting into the whole situation where if Phil is actually trying to hide money, or he's trying to transfer his assets to her so the government doesn't take it, and yada yada, that turns into a whole situation in itself. But it's something to ponder on at a later time. So she wins. She wins over Phil. She wins over Panda. It is what it is. Now let's talk about Phil in this. You have fucked up Phil in the worst possible goddamn way. It's already bad enough that whole wedding or ceremony, I should say, looks rushed. It's silly enough to already assume to throw the theory out that it's possible that Kat might be pregnant. Because Lightside Bill, as well as a few others, have pointed out she's put on weight. That's which you can tell from the picture. She's obviously put on weight. Some people even say that it looks like she's glowing a little bit. It's possible that she is pregnant. It's possible that it's not. It's possible that it's your kid, Phil. It's highly possible that it isn't. Whatever. We'll go ahead and do the smell test at a later time and date on that one. Especially given how far along that she may or may not be. So we'll worry about that at the later time. What are you gonna do, Phil? You already had a whole cornucopia of doubt that was around you before you left to pull this stunt off, to pull this bullshit. And now you have to come back and answer questions, some hard questions, by a bunch of people, and you need these people. You need them now more than ever. you need them now more than ever. When you said, Phil, that you needed $17,161, it leads me to wonder, do you need that money over the span of time? Because, for example, Kat is pregnant, and you're going to need that money when she goes on maternity leave to kind of cover that span of time until she can get back to work. If she even decides to go back, is that really just going to be money to pad you guys through 2019 and maybe even some of the 2020 year? Is that what that money's for? You said at one time you might need, upwards of $25,000. Is that what the money was for? As padding, as cushioning for the time that she's going to have to take off work to take care of this kid, if there is a kid in play. And going back and looking at how you, in a rather interesting sort of way, was able to squirm out of marrying Panda. As I said before, Phil, you never had any intention of marrying Panda. You and I both know this. You and I both know that you never had any intention of marrying Panda. That's why you had all these excuses and all these reasons and so on and so forth. And as Tevin pointed out last night, you were the polar opposite for Kat. Oh yeah, I'm in better health now, and I lost all this weight, and I went and had the heart, I went and had my blood pressure and my and my stress levels checked, and I'm good, and this, that, and the third. Which means, Phil, I want you to listen to me now. Which means now, Phil, that mystery illness, that's bye-bye. 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 That you can't use that no more. That's off the table, buddy. That's gone. So now the only thing that you have is Kat being pregnant. And if you're listening, Phil, since you're not above lying on your parents that could be dying to get money from your pay pigs, who's to say that you don't lie and say that Kat's pregnant? You might as well go along with it if that ends up being the case, if your back's against the wall. And then you can go ahead and do something even more egregious, Phil. You can go ahead and say, oh, well, Kat lost the baby. Horrible, ain't it, Phil? But it's not beneath you. You gotta do what you gotta do to survive out here. So if a baby don't pop up in let's say in the next 5 or 6 months, right? Let's say you announce that she might be pregnant, or you think she's pregnant, and that baby don't pop up in 5 or 6 months, you can always come out with that sad-ass story. There you go. And outside of, the deep internet detectives that decided to go through and actually try to look it up, what's done is done. And that's even if, there's even a trail of that. She wake up one morning and there's a situation, then there you go. That's between you two, and then you just put it out there, and that's taken as the gospel. And that's just on the most egregious and extreme aspect of it. Something that you're not above. Let's be perfectly honest. So that's one thing, because the mystery illness is gone now, Phil. You can't use that. Now you could go the angle that, oh, well, Kat's really sick, or Kat has some type of precondition and whatnot that she had told me a little bit about, but that's none of your guys' business. But that's something that we're working on. That's something we're dealing with, and so on and so forth. You could say that, and you could say marrying her was to get her on your insurance, so on and insurance that you don't use anyway. So, you can put it to good use with her. But then again, that would be counterintuitive and contradictory, because you said it yourself that you don't have the money for a doctor visit, despite the fact that you spend so much on insurance. So if all of a sudden Kat starts having these doctor's appointments, you would have to explain where that money came from, right, Phil? Just saying, Phil, I don't necessarily mean to keep boxing you in, but since you were so nice to already put yourself in the box, it's the least that I could do to go ahead and wrap it up and put a bow on it. Or I'll at least help wrap it, and then I'll pass it on to other detractors to do what they gotta do. You've boxed yourself in. You've put yourself into a cube in such a way that you did not think about. And despite the cult-like loyalty that you have, I've seen it on Instagram. It's very impressive. It's not enough. It's not enough. Because at the end of the day, as other YouTubers have said, not detractors, I mean just other people who have seen the situation, who believe that you've actually conned these kids out of their money, or these people out of your money, because not all of them are deep into the lore. You've taken quite the gamble. You've taken quite the gamble, and you've gotten over it. You really have, Phil. I won't say that I'm impressed because I saw it coming like a lot of people did, but it's still a sight to behold. There's as Argent would say, with all due respect to Argent and whatnot, shouts out to him, There are a lot of people out there that are way worse than you. But see, you're unique though, in the aspect of piece of shit you are, in the fecal matter that you represent. There's something unique about you. There's something unique about you because it borderlines on just absolute sociopathic type tendencies, while at the same time you're so gullible, stupid, that it gives people a reason to feel bad for you. But then again, when you look a little bit closer at your fan base, and some of these people who have the type of, I don't want to say shortcomings because that's rude, but they have some of the, they share a similar condition to like an Alex Seidela, for example. It makes me wonder how you were able to make it this far. It really does. It really, I'm not too surprised that, and somebody like Seidela, I'm going to use him as the example because I'm going to see his mother next weekend, and you know how much I love my milk and cookies, right, Phil? It's amazing how someone like Alex Seidela and people like him, with all due respect to his condition, I should say, they look at you as something to strive for, while at the same time they feel some type of kinship with you. Now, plenty of people have said there is something about you that's slightly off, and you know that, and I know that, and plenty of other people know that. And so it's not too surprising that a group of people would kind of home in on that and attach themselves to it, because you may be the most powerful, if you will. No, fuck powerful. You might be the strongest of them, and that's why they latch onto you. And they latch onto you wholeheartedly. And that's why tomorrow you're gonna spew that bullshit about, oh guys, I had to keep everything a secret from you. I had no choice. These people are out to get me. They're all over the place, man. And it was the only way to protect, Kat. You know what I mean? She loved me so much that despite all of the negativity and whatnot that's around me, she still was willing to accept me as her husband, and for us to be a husband and wife duo. The two of you guys against the world, right, Phil? So you had to lie to the fan base. You had to say what you had to say. You had to keep everything a secret because you were just trying to protect yourselves. Because as you've said it before, Phil, all you want is a nice life. All you want is a good life. And who the fuck are people like me to take that from you? So if you have to lie to the pay pigs to get it, then you did what you had to do. Right, Phil? Is that something close to what the script has to say? Is that kind of what it's going to sound like? Because from what I'm gathering on Twitter, you yourself have even said, you know, it's nice to see the people who really support you and who are real fans and who really care about you guys, and everybody else who are just kind of around. Like I said, this is going to be a nice weaving out process for you going into tomorrow, or going into the rest of your life, I should say. Now, Phil, let's get into the particulars of your marriage real fast. Now that we've kind of gone through the bullshit that's going to be your podcast, the excuses, who the key players are that are going to be up for debate on who to blame, and so on and so forth. Because even you, at this point, have to blame not just Tevin, not just Almighty A Gang, but anybody who's ever done a video on you, anybody who's ever had a negative opinion about you in any type of way, shape, or form. It's them as a whole who wish for you to fail. And yet, despite all of that, this woman was still willing to take your hand in marriage and still stand by your side no matter what. Right, Phil? It's going to be something like that. It's going to be some type of little play on that. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about your marriage real quick. Now, to be honest with you, it's going to be quite boring. Unless Kat's in the picture more. Because you and Kat are a unit now. And as I had said, if you were going to try to resurrect that cooking show with Kat, this is the time to do it. If you and Kat are going to have joint IRL streams in some way, shape, or form, this is going to be the time to do it. Because you need to show that you guys are a unit, a united front. Also, that one day off a week to spend it with each other, you're going to have to cut that shit back, and it's going to have to be 2 days. You guys aren't boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. And I say boyfriend and girlfriend and not, you know, engaged, because you guys weren't ever really engaged. You guys just went off and got married, at least from the public standpoint. So you can't really hold that against me to say that. So now you guys got to be a united front. That means you're going to have to take 2 days off a week, whether it has to be Monday or Sunday, whatever, or, you know, Monday and Thursday, whatever, you're going to need to take 2 days off. You have to, because most people are going to look at you and be like, how are you guys are married and you only spend 1 day together with each other? And that 1 day you only run errands. That's not really spending time with each other. Even if you guys go out to breakfast, have a light lunch, and then get your exercise around the mall, like you guys are like 60 years old or something, and then a light dinner on the way home. Sorry, Phil, that's just not going to work. You see what I'm saying? Everything that's brought you to this point of this long con, you now have to you got to evolve a little bit, because if not, the story isn't going to sound right. Now, Phil, and I'm saying this from a semi-serious standpoint, it would be amusing if this came out that this marriage was a fake, Phil. It would be amusing if that was the case. Now, the reason why you would go so far to fake a marriage would be, yet again, amusing. Not likely, but amusing. But then again, marrying a woman that you've known for less than 2 years, and I say 2 years because, yet again, Phil, I stand on the general idea that you've been talking to Kat since January of 2017. And I'll stand by it, even if I have to stand alone. It's better if I stand alone. But I feel that you've known her at least that long. You've had your nose up in the air. You've had your snout up in the air at least that long. Because the timeline that's being presented is slightly off. And that timeline is based on when did Panda actually move out of that house, which you're saying she moved out May 15th of 2017. And when did you guys actually break up? Because at the moment that you and Panda broke up, you were talking to Kat. I know you were. I bet dollars to donuts to it. I guarantee it almost. Now, I'm willing to go a little bit further than other people and say that you've known her at least since the beginning of 2017. Hence the reason why that story hasn't come out. Because there is going to be an overlap. But we'll touch on that at a later time. So, what are you going to do, Phil? What changes are you going to make moving forward to sell everybody on this whole situation? You can't keep doing what you're doing. It's not going to work. It's just not feasible. And to be honest with you, Phil, there's an active toll going on right now that, you know, your marriage might last 6 months, less than a year. And if money starts to get thrown into a pot, I'm definitely willing to throw money into that. I'm not going to say exactly how long I think you guys are going to last, but it won't be... I'm not going to say how long. I'm going to give you a little bit longer than most. Well, what are you going to do, Phil? You think this is like a marriage of convenience? An arrangement, if you will, like I've always said it was? You guys think do you think, Phil, you're just going to keep moving forward like this? Nah. See, when I did the video yesterday about Kat wanting to have kids, I meant it. And if in some way, shape, or form she was able to get you to the altar, begrudgingly or not, then she's going to get that kid. And you and I both know that. Because looking at your wedding picture, Phil, let me see if I actually have this here. I might not. You know me, I'm unprepared. Oh, that's your hoof with that ring. Which is funny too, Phil, that you did this. Actually, since I have your hoof here, this is a very thought-like picture, to say the least, Phil. Because, you know, to be honest with you, Phil, most people who take this picture, they usually have their wife's hand too, so you can see both rings. Just saying, you know. But you know, you're a high-end thought, so you couldn't bother to bring her into that, and that's fine. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. When I look at this picture, Phil, your wedding picture, you see how those nice little rosy cheeks that Kat has. See that? See that, those nice teeth and whatnot. You see that? That looks like someone who's legitimately happy, and for good reason. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna walk out of this marriage with half, at the very least. The minimum, she can take everything. Especially since, Phil, that information came out that your condo's on the market. Oh boy, that's a whole lot of extra cash that might come into play if you can sell it. I mean, granted though too, you're not going to get what it's worth. I mean, you lost, I don't know, you lost like half of the value on it, a little more, a little less. So I mean, that's neither here nor there. But you're not going to get everything that you paid out of it per se. But at least it'll be off your hands, right? You know, that's you're paying $1,200 a month in mortgage, plus what, property tax on it too. James Lesser constantly keeps reminding me of this. Thank God for that. Thank you, James. I very much appreciate it. About the property tax, you're gonna save yourself a nice bit of money on that each year. But I'm looking at this picture, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to take a look at the king and queen of hate, if you will. And I'm not catching a whole lot of a smile out of this. I'm catching a little, not even a smirk. It's almost begrudging, Phil. It's almost like, Phil, she backed your ass into a corner. It's almost like she's got something over your head and you can't really get up from under it. It's kind of like you already realize that you're stuck and you can't do shit about it. You know what you look like, Phil? To be honest with you, you look like one of those professional NBA players that ain't messed around and got himself with one of those internet thoughts. And then you had no choice but to marry her because it was cheaper to marry her than actually paying money outward to her. That's kind of what you look like. But that's just humor, to say the very least. There's no, I have no proof of any of that. But I would think for a man who just married his soulmate, you would be a bit happier about the situation. You love her, she loves you, and you guys are in this together. You two against the world. And all the haters and trolls and detractors. I don't know, Phil, you don't look like a happy guy. It looks like you kind of got that little bit of a smile that's almost cracking your face just because mommy and daddy are there. Because obviously someone has to hold the camera. And that's pretty much it. So you're not even selling the fact that this marriage is a good idea. Or that at least you're happy about it. Oh my. And if you don't go into this podcast tomorrow with some type of enthusiasm, even if the money doesn't pop in, if money doesn't start rolling into you like you think it will, you know, all those belated well wishes and wedding checks that most people get. If that doesn't roll in, Phil, you still have to have a kind of the face of a happy and proud husband. You know, the blissfulness of newlyweds, if you will. You kind of still have to hold that persona. If you don't, it's going to look ugly. It's not going to work for you. So, I don't know. Phil, we're going into a brand new saga. And I don't see the greatest things in the future for you. Then again, I never really did. And you have not disappointed. At all. Not at all. So if Kat walks away with everything, so be it. It would be ironic, yet funny, if she actually split at least half of the take or a quarter of it with Panda. But that's neither here nor there. Speaking of which, Phil, I wanted to talk to you briefly before I put this project out, or this broadcast, talking about Panda to length. You can thank Tevin for that. Praise be. Phil, how much are you paying Panda to keep her quiet? I'm just saying, I mean, don't get me wrong. You've taken a few shots at her, you know, like give her a pill and just leave her there. Just, you know, silly shit like that, right, Phil? You know, playfulness on your part. But how is it that woman who's been with you for 5 years, who knows all your dirty little secrets, never came out once and said anything? Now, I'm of the opinion that she was loyal. To a fault, to be honest with you. But then a much more rational thought comes into play too, in the fact that, as you said, Phil, you're still on good terms with her. You guys still talk. So that would lead me to believe that you might be actually giving her a little something extra each month. You know, just to make sure she's okay. You guys spend all this time with each other. You know, you guys weren't just lovers and boyfriend and girlfriend and temporarily band-aid, you know, fiancés, if you will, engaged. You know, you guys are really there for each other. You guys really care about each other. So I was wondering how much money goes to her each month, or every other month, or every quarter, if you will. Because I'm having a hard time believing that she would just keep quiet on her own. I mean, the fact that you've gotten married and, you know, and this, that, and the third with a soulmate, she's accepted that as reality. Because more than likely, you were cheating on her, she found out, she found a better man, and then it is what it is. You call everything a spade. But you have dirt on you. You have quite a bit of dirt on you. And Lord knows that you wouldn't want Panda to come out and say anything to anybody. Because she could talk to anybody. She literally has the pick of the litter of who she wants to speak to. Anybody she wants. So what keeps her quiet? What keeps her loyal? I don't know if we'll ever find out. But, you know, if she ever needs any names of some people to talk to, I can leave her some people that she might want to talk to. Either which way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty much the end of it. I don't have too much to say. I have a general idea of how tomorrow's going to go. I've given you guys at least a bit of it, my general idea. Not everything, but it's enough to kind of get the noggin jogging. Just something for you guys to kind of ponder as you guys go to bed tonight, or as you guys are going along with your day this morning before the actual podcast comes out. And we'll see where Phil goes from here. If he falls completely flat on his face, you shouldn't be surprised by it. The question is how is he going to continue moving forward? Because to be honest with you, to be honest, the pre-stream and the podcast are all incidental. Go into all of it expecting it to be almost all exclusively lies. And that's that. So what happens on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, does not really matter. It's what happens on Monday is going to be the real test. The true test of the loyalty of Phil Burnell and now Catherine Burnell and the actual fan base itself at large. The cult, if you will, of the King and Queen of Hate. That's going to be the real interesting stuff. What happens on Twitter, the exchanges that will be happening on Instagram, the few people who would spend any time on the King of Hate forums. Those are going to be the real platforms to watch out what's going on. The stuff on YouTube will still be relevant, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be what's going on. Those platforms are going to be interesting. It's going to be the former mods. If they haven't been pulled back into the fold as of the time that I'm recording this, the ones who are still out there who have chosen that I'm not going back to you, Phil, you betrayed me for the last time, it's going to be the things that they say. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be relevant. That's going to be fruitful. Phil's going to only do what he can do, which is lie. Yeah, lie. That's all he can do. But the truth and the humiliation that will come out of that truth will be so much more sweeter. But time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. Let me know what you guys think, if you think anything, as it pertains to this situation. And I will try to have my response to the pre-stream and to the podcast at large out eventually. Eventually. And whatnot. Because, you know, it is what it is. Everybody's going to want to know how that all played out. But don't worry, there'll be plenty of people that will have their opinions out by then. So trust me, you guys have literally the pick of the litter of some very, very interesting individuals giving their opinion on the subject matter at hand. And if there's anything that since you guys will actually get to see this before I do, the actual podcast itself, if anything interesting came up, you know, by all means, you know, hit me here, hit me on Twitter, and let me know what you guys heard. I'll be looking for it as soon as I get back online. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate it. And this was the Snort Report. And this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network Productions. I am your host, /anchor, GTG. Sorry about that. And I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves. End the broadcast.